Not so sure what happened there. We might have to restart. We'll see. Okay, so up at the top, if we're looking at the top, starting at the underneath basic game. If I grab this here, else. So you have all the you'll have all the lengths. So like I said, there was 3 2-inch ones and 3 3-inch bluegills. So in each fish has matching. At the top is bass. There's the northern pike, the trout, and the catfish, and that matches up to what's on the fishing license as far as fish lengths. The trophy, that multiplies your fish story times 2. So if you played a trophy and a bluegill that was 2 inches, the fish story you would be telling is of, I once caught a 4-inch bluegill. If you combined it with like a single trout card, that would multiply it by 2, making it 20. The fishing hat is add 3 to any length. So you might get something that's confusing because yeah.
So if I put down 2 trout at 20 inches and then I play the trophy, is that now 40 inches? Does it double the entire story?
It doubles the entire story.
Got it. Okay. So the hat is next.
The hat just adds 3 inches to the length of any fish story. Okay. So if you played a trout and a hat, that would be 13 inches. The boot adds 0 inches. It just makes it confusing to say. You might play two bluegill cards and still say that it's a 2-inch bluegill, but in reality you're playing a boot, and that. So somebody might think you're lying. Okay. The boat, the way the boat works is it reverses the direction of play. So at any time, you can play that, and when the boat moves, it'll move in the opposite direction. The lure cards you play into the center. So if you have the lure cards, you just play it into the center where this Kickstarter is, and it'll automatically make you the active player. So if you play it on, you can become the challenger. Sorry. When you play the lure card, you get the lure token. At any time, you can then play the lure into the center and become the active challenger. So if, for example, normally I'm making a fish story and Magnus is, or McKella is going to be the person that's doing the challenge, Tim could then play the lure and become the challenger instead.
Yeah, I have cards or something that probably.
If you have the lure, you can play the lure to become the active challenger.
Okay, so so someone's going to be dealt this lure card, correct?
Yep. Can they play it at any time?
Oh, anytime.
Yep, play it any time, and that lure card gives you the lure token. There's a lure token here. That's in the basic game. If you have the Kickstarter, you get the lure down here. That's an actual lure.
Okay, so you play the lure card at any time. You now get this token.
And then you can
be played at any time.
Right, you can play at any time to become the challenger. As soon as you play it, you put it back into the center, and you become the challenger at that time.
So it's only for challenging. It's not to become the new active player or anything like that.
No, that is actually the fly down here to become the active player. If you play that into the center at any time, and if you play it before a fish story, you become the storyteller. If you play it after, you become the challenger.
Got it.
Okay. The bobber, all the bobber is the bobber gets played into the center, and it's just a face-up card that just gets added. You can play it at any time. It's a way for you to make it look like you have extra cards in your hand, but at the last minute you can go out if you only have the bobber, for example.
Got it.
The hook. The hook card is you can you play it when you are the storyteller, and you can then change the active fish type. So if the active fish type is bass going around and it's your turn, you don't have any bass cards, but you have the hook, you play the hook, and now you can change it to any other type of fish that you would like to tell a story for.
And so the other cards still stay in the middle, but we're just using something different now for the current fish
Right.
story. Now, when you
Yep.
play these special cards, if you are challenged and whoever loses the challenge has to pick up extra cards, do they get these special cards as well?
They do, yes.
Okay.
So it becomes it's a blessing and a curse because you can't add specialty cards. All these specialty cards, you can't add them to a fish story and make them true. So you got to kind of get rid of them by either using them or by bluffing. Yep.
Okay.
The game warden, you play that into the center, and what it's going to do is this is when you play this before somebody's going to accept a challenge, and what it does is it'll flip over a card in that randomly picks one and it'll flip it over for you.
So if I played 3 cards that were trout,
Yep.
and then somebody plays the
We
warden,
played this. Yep.
even though the person with the warden card isn't challenging, one card
Right.
gets flipped over,
Yep.
and so then
So
they can decide if they want to challenge or not.
right.
Okay.
So it might randomly flip over one, showing that you were lying.
So like, oh yeah, I'll challenge that
There.
dude.
Yep.
Got it.
Okay. The
Actually,
knife.
You
The
gotta pick-
knife subtracts. Well, it depends on how many cards that you lied with. If you lied with all your cards, well, somebody playing a game warden, it's going to reveal you.
Saw your contraband fish.
Yep. The fillet knife is subtracts one from the fish story,
Okay.
and then
Spinner.
the spinner is a wild card. You play in with. You play it with your fish story, and then you can remove if it gets challenged. You can remove the spinner and one other card. So it essentially allows you to play an extra bogus card in there. So
So if I play, let's say, I say,
two trouts, a
bass.
spinner, and a bass,
and then
and you challenge it, it gets flipped over. The spinner's in there. I can take the spinner and the bass and remove it, leaving me with 2 trout.
Let's say like 20 for. I have 3 cards, 20 for trout. Is that the gist of it? The length has to still be correct, right?
Correct. The length still has to be correct when you say it. So you'd be
Okay.
like, you're playing 4 cards, but if you look at the license, well, how does that work out?
Yeah.
All right. So let's
Maybe it is that they have, they're playing, they have the 2-2, the 2 4s and the 2 6s, and they're playing 4 cards to get 20. Maybe that's the case. Or maybe they have, 2 of the 5 10s, but maybe you had the one of the 4-inch and the 6-inch. You'd be like, no, that's not possible. You can't have a 20-inch bat or trout with 4 cards because I have a 4-inch. That's bullshit. And then you
right.
reveal
Because, okay.
You can double it too, though, with a card, correct?
Yeah, certainly. The wild adds into whether or not you're
All right, so let me do an example with the trout. All right, so let's say I play 4 cards. I've got I once caught a 20-inch trout, but I'm actually putting 2 10-inch trouts. I'm putting a 12-inch catfish and the spinner.
Yep.
Okay. Tim looks at his hand and says, "Well, with the 4 cards, the combination can't happen because I happen to have a 6 and a 4 as well." So he challenges me. I then reveal the spinner and the catfish and remove them. So then we continue with the challenge, and he ends up losing because I did that shenanigan.
Yep.
And then he takes all the cards.
Yep.
Got it.
All the cards that were in your story and any of the cards that are in the lake.
Okay. And the lake is
So-
the middle where we're just placing our cards.
Yep. So if somebody accepts accepts a fish story as being truthful, it just goes into the center, and as it goes around, that lake can pile up. So it's not only the cards and what you're challenging, but it's all the cards that have been accepted leading up till then.
Got it.
And the last one is the fishing guide, and that is add 7.
Oh, you get a whopper. The length is added prior to any multiplier. Okay.
So the other ones, I believe, state otherwise, right? Is this one is, yeah. So that one, if you had this and happen to have the trophy, then it would be multiplied.
So I take my two 20-inch
Yeah,
trouts,
so
add 7, it's 27. Now it's 27 times 2. Got to do some math. 54, right? I think that's what it is.
So the fishing hat works the same way, where it's multiplied as well.
And then these little today's catch, that's just when the person declares, you just put that out there so they know what,
Yep.
what we're doing. Okay.
Yep, because it gets a little confusing when you're playing at a table. Well, what is the active fish type? Because you have to always keep the same fish type. That's important to this variant of game, is you keep the same fish type where you, because you might want to challenge because you know you don't have that type of fish, and you're going to be forced into lying on your next play. So you might want to challenge the person. So you need to be aware that, yeah, you need to tell a story that matches the active fish type.
All right.
The active fish type changes if you look at the turn order. So when a challenge occurs, the loser takes the lake and a whale. Then you do catch and release. The catch and release is if you have the number of cards that matches on the fishing license.
So like I have 4 bass cards, I could discard them.
Right, and it has to be for the active fish type. So if bass was the story being told, you could remove bass cards.
And
If you had 6 bluegills and the active fish type was bass, that wouldn't count. It has to be the active fish type on the catch and release.
And the catch and release only occurs after a challenge.
Yep, after a challenge occurs.
But anybody can release those cards if they have the active fish type.
Correct, and it does go in. You should be going in order from the person that lost the challenge going around.
Okay.
So it's potential that somebody can win when you made a challenge or told a story. So all the other players get to release their fish before that. Soon as one person, so if multiple people on the same round go out because they had like for example, during the game is me and Tim have both 2 trouts in our hand, and it's the active fish type is trout, and McKella told the fish story. You ended up challenging. You lost the challenge. Me and Tim would discard our trout, but because I was next in order on the the order of play, right?
Keep that going around too, right?
Yep.
Until so we can go like 9 times with bluegill, correct? Until someone challenges.
Correct. So you might find that the pile there's, even though there's only 6 fish, that there might be 20 cards in the lake, just because everybody is a big fat liar.
Now you say the winner changes the fish type.
Yep. So
do they have to?
Yes, you do have to change the fish type.
Okay.
And the winner may remove a whale token. So the loser receives a whale token. The winner can remove one, and if you end up with 3 whales on at the beginning of your turn, If you have 3, you're kicked out of the game.
As your,
And then-
What happens to
the-
their cards?
They keep those cards just get discarded. They don't get put into play.
Okay.
And then the winner takes the boat.
Now, how did you say you can reverse the flow with the boat?
Actually, with the boat, if you just play it, if you play the boat card into the middle, any of the ones that are specialty that says play into the lake, if you drag the card into above this darker zone in the center, this zone here, is the scripting will automatically do that for you.
Okay, so the way to move the boat is by playing the boat card.
Yep.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys have on the right side, do you guys have, is there notes on there or is that only for me?
I see some hotkeys.
I think just for you.
Okay, so on the hotkeys, if you on there, it doesn't allow. If you go up onto the top and go into